What's going on, everybody? Thank you again for tuning in to Hot Topics with Z and Tuck. I am your host, Z.
You got Tuck?
And we are back again on this beautiful Thursday night. It's a very special Thursday night, as we promised you guys, and this is why it's very special.
Yeah. Today on the show, man, we got Benton Blount. You know, the first time I saw Benton was on America's Got Talent, and with his performance, he just blew me away. I thought Benton Blount should have won the contest, but either way, I became a super fan right from the beginning. I've been following him ever since. Been wanting to get him on the show since our first season, but I know at that time he had a lot of priorities and stuff, especially when the pandemic hit. I know he had a lot of priorities doing, trying to do what he needed to do at home to be able to make the money and stuff like that. So, but we got him here tonight, and we want to welcome in Mr. Benton Blount.
All right.
What's happening?
What's going on, Mr. Benton?
Y'all sent me down a rabbit hole and didn't even know it. I went to try to find the video live, and I didn't realize that all these live videos were on Facebook, so I'm just staring at people doing weird stuff right now, so I'm glad I can just talk to you guys.
Well, let me tell you, it's definitely a pleasure and honor to have you with us tonight. I know Tucker has been working with you on this for a long period of time, and we understand, you got your busy life and everything going on right now. And a lot of our viewers may know who you are tonight, and they especially tuned in just to watch you. But for those that don't know who Benton Blount is, do you mind giving us a little bit of intro about yourself? Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what makes Benton Blount special.
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I'm originally from North Carolina. I'm a Carolina boy, is what I say, because I grew up in North Carolina. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee to I do music for a living, and I lived there for about 6 or 7 years, but ended up back in South Carolina, in Greenville, South Carolina, and just something about this area always feels like home. And I'm always on the road traveling, but it's always nice to come back to a place that feels like home. So whether it's north or south, that's kind of where I've set up my station. But I've just been honestly going through whatever doors God has opened up for me, and sometimes I even question why the doors open in the first place. But that's why I went on kind of the crazy trips that I went on, and everything from I was gonna play football in high school, and I kind of caught the music bug the summer after my senior year when I was planning on going to college. And so I had to call these coaches and say, I know you already offered me a full ride. I know I could play football, but I've decided to play music. They're like, so you did music your whole life? I'm like, no, I just decided a couple weeks ago. And surprisingly, most of the coaches, even some from ACC schools, were super supportive and said, we completely understand and wish me luck. And I've literally been playing music ever since. I don't really know. It wasn't like I'd been playing since birth, like, playing a fake guitar and singing. It just kind of happened when I was 18, and I've been doing it ever since.
Wow.
So I know you got you're married and you got 3 kids and everything, and you got Jackson, you got Brooklyn, and you got Lincoln.
Yeah.
So every time I see them on video, they're always really spunky. So I know you and your wife got your hands really full with him.
Oh man, that's something else that was unplanned, was all 3 of our children. But they've been a blessing, and we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, and we got the normal stories from everybody about how crazy it was going to be being a parent, and people were pretty correct when they said that, but it wasn't quite as bad as I was worried it was going to be, especially after we had the 3rd one. I was like, I don't know how we're having all these kids, but we need to stop.
And I know during the pandemic and everything, you have had to do homeschooling and stuff. So I know that could play a lot in a factor with you trying to do your work up top and also do homeschooling with them, and as spunky as they are, trying to keep them under control.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I thought I would hate it, and I didn't. I didn't like it that much, but it was more because I felt like my kids were lacking because I know I'm not a great teacher. Like I was going to be a teacher when I was in school, and luckily my mom talked me out of it because she's a retired teacher of 35 years, and said there's no money in it, and you have to have a lot of patience for kids. And I said, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. So
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to be that great, but having the chance to remotely be a part of that learning experience was actually pretty cool to do. And they don't hate me, so I guess I did an okay job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've gotten to know your mom and her best friend Doris. Yeah.
Oh Lord, the crazy one.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. So, but I especially think that your kids though, man, should be like child models. I mean, with their smiles and everything, it's just really infectious. I mean, those golden lock hairs. I mean, wow.
Well, and they figured it out too because they'll test us. They're in the testing phase, and each of them are like 2 years apart, so it's a different testing phase. But they know that after they've done whatever it is they've done they shouldn't do, they try to turn on the charm, and it works most of the time. More with me than mom. She can drop the hammer on them. Pretty good.
She just give them that evil eye, and they're like, ooh.
Oh yeah, she's got the look down pat. It scares me to death.
So I think you you kind of touched up on this a little bit, but I mean, how did you really get into music? I know you touched a little bit on this, but if you just want to give us a little bit more on it, like what's so special about music to you? Like what? I mean,
Well, it's kind of a two-part story, but to not go into, I mean, I've been doing it for almost 20 years now, so when I start telling the story, I realize I'm on a rabbit trail sometimes, so I try to condense it every time. But I started in church, and it was a complete fluke accident. I had a friend who said, we're starting a worship team. I was like, I don't know what that means, because the church I went to, we didn't even use instruments. And he said, well, just come and check it out. So I went, and they said, well, why don't you join the band? I'm like, I don't play an instrument. I hit people for a living playing football. That's it. And they said, well, what if we buy you a bass guitar? Will you learn to play it? I'm like, sure. If you're going to buy me musical equipment, I'll try to do anything. So the church bought me a bass, and I don't know how to read music still to this day. All this equipment, recording stuff on the other side, 5 or 6 albums, and I still don't know how to read music. But I would sing along to the songs to know where I was at. And I went to the first practice, and after the first song, they took my bass away from me and said, I'm a terrible bass player. And I'm like, well, that's great. Sure.
Wow, that's an encouragement.
Yeah, but then it was, of course, a joke, kind of, because I did suck at bass. But he said, you're a great singer, and we want you to lead the worship team singing. So I'm like, what am I doing right now? I never planned to do any of it, and I went from doing that to the first weekend. Like, they asked me to do that, and that Friday we played in front of 1,500 people. So my first experiences on stage, It wasn't like I got to go to a coffee shop. I had to get up in front of over 1,000 people.
Yeah, a large crowd. So,
Yeah,
so when was it that you picked up your first guitar?
It was probably about a year and a half into that, because we were within that show. I guess it was a show. It was a worship night or whatever. We were getting requests from other churches and other places to play all over the place. And I mean, it came out of nowhere, and we were all like, we don't know what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. And nobody knew how to write songs. I didn't know how to play guitar, so I said, well, I figured it out with the bass. I'll buy a guitar, and if I can learn enough chords, I'll start to write. And that's kind of where my songwriting started. It was kind of out of a necessity because nobody else was doing it, and we knew we had something going because it was a pretty big interest in the surrounding cities, and that just kind of slowly worked its way out. You know, a lot of people see you on a TV show or see you once you make it to Nashville, and they're like, man, you just made it. And you're thinking, no, I've been doing this for a long time. It was a process of just gradually building out like any business model, and kind of got me to the point where I was able to do it full time and not work another job. And it before COVID hit, that's pretty much what I was doing every year, which was great.
Yeah. I just recently, which I told you, I just recently saw a video of you back with 7 Miles doing Christian rock.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was totally blown away. I was like, wow, that really fits him too, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I grew up with a bunch of different influence. I loved music. I just never. My whole family's musical. My dad played in some Motown bands, and then my mom is to this day still one of my favorite singers in the world. She has a beautiful voice, but I just never thought I would do it. But I loved music, and I loved everything. So I listened to everything, literally from NWA to Travis Tritt, and you fill in the middle with
yeah,
metal
that's
and
the way
rock.
that's the way I am. I listen
Yeah.
to everything. So,
And so my music kind of reflects it, even in a softer song, because my voice is so low. I'm having to sing higher music a lot of times, and so it makes me have to be more powerful and project my voice more. So
right.
even in some country songs, I still have kind of a rock voice from time to time because of that.
Yeah, well, like most people heard when we started the show, right? The countdown. We played one of your songs, which was "Get Up." You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's one of our favorite. That was my favorite show, my favorite song to open our shows with, especially if we were playing with another country act, because
right,
that's not a typical country type song,
right.
and kind of sets the tone for the night. Not that we were trying to show them up, but just show people that we had something different that
Right.
the other band didn't have.
Right. Well, we got also a question from one of our viewers. It says, you said you played football through high school. What position did you play, and what were some of the schools that
Offered you?
offered you?
Let's see. Well, it changed a lot because just like recently in the last year when coronavirus hit, I had gained a lot of weight from having 3 kids and traveling, playing all over the country, and drinking lots of bourbon in the process. And I decided I needed to get in better shape. So over the course of the last year, I lost like 100 pounds, and I'd done that before when I was in high school. So in high school, I was an offensive tackle up until my junior year, and between sophomore and junior year, I lost 100 pounds over the summer. Came back and I was defensive end and inside linebacker, but basically defensive end for the most part. And so I went from a big guy on the front line to the more faster guy on defense. And as far as schools goes, there was a lot from. Not all were full rides, but Carolina. A lot of the Carolina schools, UN Chapel Hill and Clemson, and the one in particular that I remember was Minnesota, because they called and I said no, because he said the climate was kind of like here up there, and I knew he meant somewhere really cold, and I'm not a very cold-natured person, so that sealed the deal on that one right there.
Yeah. Did you also
And I
happen to
didn't-
get? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I didn't know how cool it would be to be a Golden Gopher either, so I just decided to not go play.
Yeah. So did y'all also happen to get to play anybody in Florida? Because that was where our viewers from David Rogers. He has his own little show over there called On the Spot with David Rogers.
Yeah. I had talked to Florida State. I loved Florida State at the time. I was a super big Florida State fan. Sorry if you're a Florida fan, and probably,
Well, that's actually where I'm going to be moving to once I retire from here. So is Florida.
I love Florida. I have family that live in Hollywood, Florida, and they've been there forever. So every summer I would go down and work on my uncle's tree farm a lot of times, and we'd go there for Christmas because you could swim in the summertime, which was nice. So I love Florida. It's great. But I didn't have as many schools. It's more Georgia and the Carolinas.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like the best player in school, but I was just a big guy. We were all big guys, so we had a good team. And just because you have a good team, a lot of times you'll get looks from colleges that other players won't get.
Yeah. Well, one of mine and David Rogers' old schoolmates played in Florida for the Florida Gators. He was a quarterback for a while, which was
nice.
Shane Matthews. So
Very cool.
also, a mutual friend of ours just joined us, which is Jill White. So she just said, hey, she just said, "Hey y'all." So
I bet she did say, "Hey y'all" too, didn't she?
So let's move into America's Got Talent. I
Sure.
know that's like I think it's just by saying America's Got Talent, it's just it's like it's a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit. So the first question is, what made you decide to try out for America's Got Talent?
Just like all the other stories I've told you so far,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much any story I'll tell you about anything I've done successful in my career, it's been an absolute fluke that I really had nothing to do with.
That's how it
I,
always
I did.
goes.
I know it's one of those things where you hear all these stories like, and I wonder now looking back how many of them were kind of fabricated by a publicist. But you hear a story about somebody becoming a musician or an actor or an actress or president or whatever, and they always have this like clear cut story where they wanted to do this and wanted to do that. And with me, it's been like I didn't really want to do any of it. It was just offered to me, and I took the opportunity and made the best out of it. And luckily, people liked what I did. But I didn't audition. They actually contacted me. A friend of mine who manages some actually hip hop and rap groups and stuff. She had given my music to a producer on the show. The producer liked the music, looked me up, liked the image, and called me and asked me if I would audition. And I said no. And it kind of caught him off guard. He was like, "What do you mean no?" I said, "Well, I know how this works. So you go to an arena or a venue and you stand in a line of like 30,000 people and you sing, and they might take 15 out of those 30,000 from each venue that they do their auditions from. And
Right.
I'm not a big, I would do better to go buy a scratch-off ticket." I'm always completely honest with people, which is good and bad. It's been great for my life and terrible at the same time. But he said, "No, we just want you to play on Skype." So similar to this, like us talking, there'll be a boardroom and all the producers will be in there. You don't have to do that audition at all, because we actually go out and scout a little bit. So thinking I wouldn't make it, I never really watched the show before, maybe 1 or 2 seasons. I just didn't care. I went to the gym that day. I came home sweaty. I was like, "Oh crap, I got to do this audition." So I literally went live, sweaty shirt, didn't fix my face. Not that I can really fix much, and I played mostly original songs because I was like, well, I'm not going to make it. I might as well let them know what I do, and they can hear my voice and hear my songwriting, and maybe something will happen from that. And as I'm playing, I realized that in the background, around where my guitars are here, in the other house, my son, the only one I had at the time, was behind me, butt naked, with his diaper. And he was swinging his diaper around in a circle, and I knew he was going to throw it and like just nail the webcam or something. So he didn't do that. But in looking at all that, I was thinking there's zero chance that I'm going to make this show. So I got through with the little interview and let him go, and they called me back within 20 minutes and they said, "We think you're perfect." I'm like, "I've been doing this all wrong my whole life."
Well, see, that's that spunkiness I was telling you about with his kids and everything.
Oh man, and it just evolved from there.
Yeah. Well, you actually answered one of our questions that we was going to continue on with, but do you know how many people actually auditioned at the time when you did?
Yeah, well, I don't know how many people they actually called and had do the audition process. I did, but I know that there were, they said there were 53,000 people that they chose from. So that's not saying 50,000 people that auditioned. It's 50,000 people that they said you might get a spot on the show, which is a huge talent pool. And then the producers kind of weeded out different reasons they do, but one of the main reasons is it's a show, so they're trying to keep viewers.
Right.
And if you watch all the seasons, this is kind of a little secret, just a little secret, not a big one, but you'll always find a stereotype person. So the producers are looking for like me. I'm the big bald-headed guy with tattoos that sings love songs, like the shock factor. So people will watch it and they're like, "Oh man." So luckily I fit that mold, and they liked the way that I sang. And I think just because I was easy to work with, because I wasn't doing it like saying I got to win this because this is my chance to be somebody. It's just like it's an opportunity,
Right.
and I got to make the best of it. So I was easy to work with, easiest one in the room to work with, and I loved working with them. And ended up being on the season for the whole time. So I went in thinking I didn't have a chance, and next thing you know, I'm on the very last show of the season.
Yeah.
So, I guess when you did get, chosen to be on the show, what was, what were your first thoughts? I mean, you're like, oh my God, this is actually turning into something serious. So what were your first thoughts?
My very first thoughts were, honestly, my wife's gonna kill me because we just had a kid, and I'm gonna have to leave her for at least a couple weeks. Thinking at the beginning of this, once I found out I was going, but I think more than anything, literally every time this kind of stuff happens, I've just looked at it as an opportunity that has been given to me, whether people see that being from God, which I do, or just to luck, or however they see it. And in my head, I was just preparing for that opportunity because I always want to make whether it's a job interview that I've had in the past, or the podcast thing that I'm trying to do. I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, I do it the best of my ability. So once it came up, I just said, okay, here's the opportunity now. How do I do this? I don't want to go in blind and just hope that other people help me along. So I did that's when I started watching the show and seeing what other people did, and that it wasn't just a singing show, and kind of how the process went, and just went and had a good time.
Yeah. What was one of your favorite moments while you was there at America's Got Talent?
I had a bunch because
Yeah.
I never got to do anything like that. I've done a lot of stuff. I've been very blessed. I've toured with some big bands even before the show. I've played in front of over 100,000 people before at one time at a festival in Louisiana. Like,
Right.
I've done all these things that a lot of people haven't had a chance to do. So it helped me on the show quite a bit because I didn't have nerves. I wasn't scared because I was in New York City at Radio City Music Hall,
Right.
even though I should have been because it's an amazing place. And but I would say having somebody like Howard Stern compliment me as many times as he did
Yeah.
was a big thing for me because it at least showed me that somebody who's a fairly large critic who doesn't really beat around the bush
That's true.
couldn't find anything bad to say about me.
Right.
That's because I was worried about that going into it. You're like, crap, what's he going to say? And he does music a lot too, so he's going to be critical.
Right.
But he liked me, and the other, I mean, I only had one or two episodes where a judge said anything negative about my performance or anything. I think I said more negative about my performance than they did.
Yeah. I know. As being a fan as I am, there was a few things that I considered as my favorite, and it wasn't actually during the show. It was some of your I'll call them podcasts
Yeah.
that you did. One was there in Times Square when you had the lady trying to look over your shoulder but not be noticed.
Right?
And then the other one was your bathroom concerts.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that too is that was, I don't know how I stumbled across that because Facebook Live was not a thing at the time. All the streaming platforms hadn't really came out. I don't even think you couldn't go live on YouTube. There wasn't really a live platform, and this was like a beta tested thing. So I was the only one on the show that was able to access Facebook Live, which helped tremendously because everybody from the show found out I was doing it. So I would go live to go get a coffee across the street and have 5,000 people on there. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
So but I loved that part because I felt like I was taking people that had kind of brought me to where I was along with the trip and the journey, because I couldn't do that a lot when we were inside performing and everything.
Yeah. So I know you got to meet a lot of incredible people, as far as Drew Lynch, Pip the Dragon.
Yeah.
He's probably a character. The guy, I can't remember his name, the guy who regurgitates.
Yeah, you know what's funny about him too? I didn't realize it until after the show, and I sent him this long message, and I said, I have to apologize. because when I was, and I hope I didn't make him upset, like feel like I aged him, but I said when I was 15 years old, my only memories of watching HBO was watching you perform on the show because he was a performer on HBO a long time ago, and he would
Okay.
do that whole thing like swallow the goldfish and swallow the key and all this
Yeah.
other weird stuff. And I was always a fan of that, which is another reason I wanted to do America's Got Talent because it wasn't just singers; it was people that did everything.
Correct.
But yeah, he's a very interesting person, but I don't how he does what he does, I will never know.
Yeah, and then you had the guy who did the ladder. I can't pronounce his name because
Yeah, you know, he's probably there's a there's a handful of people I still keep up with from the show. Oz Perlman,
yeah,
who was the mentalist.
Yes.
He's just a great
he,
magician.
he was the one that won it, right?
Well, he got like third place. I
Oh,
think.
third place?
Second or third.
Who was it?
The
that-
winner was Paul Zierden. The
Oh yeah, yeah,
ventriloquist.
that's right. The ventriloquist.
Yeah, but to be honest, I think out of everybody, Oz Perlman has made the most from the show because you'll see him if you watch Good Morning America and the Today Show. They constantly have him on there all the time. He always predicts like the Super Bowl games.
Right,
and,
right.
he's done a lot with it. He did. I did a lot with the show myself. Like it got me out there. It got me all over the country. It got my fan support built up. But he actually took it and helped it to build his brand even more. So he made that model that I wanted to make work really good with that experience.
Yeah. Well, getting to know everybody there, you even got the chance to perform with Rachel Platt.
Yeah.
So how was that? I mean, I bet you that was really exciting to be able to sing with her.
It was it was interesting because as you can tell from anybody that's listening or watching, my voice is kind of monotone. It's low, and my excitement level, like this is me excited, and this is also me sad, and me happy, and me mad, whatever. Maybe a little more aggressive if I'm mad, but Rachel Platten is a fireball, like nothing but energy. Super super smiley, super move around the stage, and so she had to get me into a room with her manager, and I thought she was going to say, I'm not doing this song with you because you're terrible. But she literally brought me in the room because she wanted me to relax and she wanted me to go through the song with her. So we did like this little choreography thing, and she did it until she felt like I was comfortable. And that says a lot coming from a national recording artist who's doing very well, has a #1 single, and she's helping me make sure that I don't screw up. So that said a lot, and it helped with the performance a lot too.
So, did AGT help your career in any way? Like, did it?
Yeah, it definitely did. I always tell people, if you can do something like that, do it. It's great. But if you can't do it or you don't get picked, just know, and I always tell them this without going into detail about all the stuff on the back end of the shows and stuff, but just know that it's not always about just your talent. There's a lot of things that they look at for these shows. So you can't, if you're an artist, if you're a musician or a poet or a painter or anything, your work means a lot. So if somebody doesn't accept your work, like, have you on the show, then it can really mess with your head. So I always try to encourage people, try everything you want. Just don't take it so serious that it makes you feel like you're not enough, because that's not what these shows are all about. And I think that's what kind of helped me out on the show, because I really didn't care if I got kicked off the next week. I was just going to have fun and
Right.
sing the best that I could. And if people voted for me, I'd stay. And if not, I would just use it as if more than anything, it was more of like a promotional tool that I would have never been able to access, because it would have cost me $250,000 to get in front of that many eyeballs,
Right,
like
right,
just
right.
from a business side.
So, like we was talking before the show, it kind of got you out there, got your name out there, who you was, and plus it gives you a little title that you can still put on there too, as AGT's top 10 finalists. So I'm pretty sure when you go do a big show, that pretty much that's in your introduction too, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it's sad in one way, but it's great in the other way that it would make that big of a difference, but it is night and day different when you can say that you were a finalist on a TV show
Right.
that's got, that wins awards and millions of people watch. So
Yeah.
I've definitely used it as much as I could, but at the same time, showing people that, a lot of times they don't realize that that's not the only music I do. So
Right.
I try to use that to get them to the show so I can show them the kind of music that I actually play.
Yeah. Would you do it again, or would you go to another show like The Voice or something?
Um, I mean, I probably would. I can't say that I wouldn't because I haven't really taken that approach with anything I've done. I've kind of done the opportunities that came up, but it is stressful. And then also for me, I'm a full-time musician, so that whole year that I was on the show, I think I played 3 shows, similar to with COVID. So this COVID experience for me has been like the TV show because I've had no income for almost an entire year. So that's the downside. They don't really pay you. They pay for your travel and give you like a per diem. But it's like $35, and you can barely buy a bagel in New York City for $35. So
Right. Right.
it you know it there's a lot of challenges, but the opportunity usually outweighs those challenges. So I would have to probably say I would if I had the opportunity to do it again.
One of our viewers said David Rogers from Florida. He was asking. He says there's a hometown boy there in Stark, Florida, named Jimmy Clark. He says,
I know Jimmy well.
okay, yeah, he was asking if you knew the Clark Hill band.
Yeah, I actually we've played a lot of shows together. I've known Jimmy for I used to work with Pit Bulls and Parolees a lot down in Louisiana, the TV show,
Yeah.
and Jimmy did too. So he's one of the ones who got me onto this country music cruise that I did with his band and some other big artists as well. But yeah, I know Jimmy really well. Great singer, amazing singer actually.
We just want to let our viewers know that you can actually call in and if it's okay with Benton, like for them to ask you questions live.
Sure.
You guys have the ability to call in at our number that's 480-243-2431 and ask anything that you're interested to ask. I mean, live on here.
Yeah, you have that number already put up where we can put it up on the screen? Oh,
Yeah,
there it
actually I
is.
do it. It's
There it is.
actually
It's
going in the
actually-
ticker, so it's
yeah,
actually
it's in the ticker.
480-243-2431. Give us a call and ask anything that you want during the time we have Benton with us over here. So the next question for you, Benton, is since you write a lot of your songs, so I guess what inspires you to write your own songs? I mean, it's a big thing. So
Yeah, well, like I said, when I first started, it was out of necessity because we were recording a record of original songs and we didn't have any. But I've found over the years that writing has become an outlet for me, I guess, maybe similar to people who work out to get stress off of them, or people that do an activity, whether it's basketball or something like that. Like when I get in the studio and I write, or whether it's words or just music, it kind of takes my headspace away from all of the stuff. So especially during COVID, especially during anytime things were going on in our life, maybe some problems we have had with the family or health issues, the music was my way of not letting that take a toll on me. So I think that's more than anything why I've continued to do it, because I feel like it's almost like it's more for me than it is the people I'm making the music for. It's my way to vent and stay sane.
Yeah, do you go by, when you're writing, is it by life experiences or stories that you might have heard from other people, or?
A little bit of both of those. At first, it was just life experience because I didn't know
Right.
what to do.
Right,
So I just knew if I was taking from personal experience, it would be a lot easier to write the song.
right,
And then as I learned to do it, I moved to Nashville and I started co-writing with some of the biggest songwriters in Nashville. And when I did that, I learned that it's not always about that feeling, but you have to kind of design a feeling. So that's when I became more of a like a storyteller, a writer, where I could write a song about something that I hadn't maybe experienced before.
Yeah.
And it's kind of evolved. So there's different, different ways that I write, just depending on the song or the moment or the idea.
Yeah.
And I just same way with it. I never took a class. I never took a course. I never got a degree. I just picked up a guitar and prayed whatever I was gonna say made sense.
Yeah.
And so far it has, for the most part.
Well, I know some of the best songs that I totally really enjoy is some of the love ballads you have. Is like You Walked In, and If It's Not You.
Yeah, and that song is one of my favorite songs, and I rarely get to play it. I love I can write songs like that easy. Like if you ask me to write a song about somebody getting married, I could have it back to you in the morning.
Right.
It's more when I write the barn burners or the fast songs that I got to actually take the time. You'd think it'd be the other way around, but for whatever reason, that stuff just flows
Yeah.
a little better.
Because
But when you play in a bar, it's kind of hard to play some of those songs because either people are there to drink because they just got out of a relationship
Yeah.
and they start crying on you, and that's terrible.
Yeah, because I have one of those fairy tale love stories, and
Uh-huh.
where I found my long last love after 21 years, and so
Nice.
trying to find a song that actually fits in, and those two songs have been the closest, especially If It's Not You.
Well, I have a new one for you then, because I wrote it a long time ago, but I wrote a song with a guy in Nashville, pretty well known now. He's written for any of the songs you hear on the radio, the artist, he's probably at least written a hit or two for them. But I caught him at the perfect time where he had just went and met. He dated this girl through high school. He moved off, and 15 years later, they meet online and get back together. And I got to write with this guy on the Monday after that happened. So that's, it couldn't have been any more luckier for me.
Yeah.
And that's what the song was about. Like he just, fell in love with this girl again.
Yeah, well, I should send you my fairy tale love story, and maybe it inspire you some more. So
Hey, come on. That's songwriters should owe a portion of their money if we actually made money anymore from streaming, to the people that inspire them, because a lot of the stuff we get are, from shows.
See, I wouldn't care, because what I would do is I would just play the song maybe every day for my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right.
So
There
it'd
you
be
go.
like, this song was written for you. Do you have any new music or albums coming out soon, though?
I have several things in the works. I have an album that we put out literally the week that the lockdown started, and it's like the worst timing to put out a record.
Yeah.
But so we never really we released it, but we never did a full official release because everything was just crazy during that time. So we kind of let what happened happen. So people started buying it and listening to it, but we never really pushed it to let people know that there's new music. We recorded it in L.A. With tons. I mean, people from Pink Floyd, David Bowie, Bon Jovi, the Foo Fighters. I mean, tons of people played on the record. It was crazy. But I have that one, and then I also have some stuff that I've been working on since then that I'm trying to decide what to do with, because, like I said, they haven't officially released the album, so I think they're going to do a hard release with it, and then we'll come back with something else. So I have hundreds of songs here that I've written over the year that either for me or for somebody else, and that's just every night I come up and I write whatever comes out and catalog it and put it in one of these hard drives until I can use it.
One of our viewers asking if you are on TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok. I know I'm supposed to be.
That's where everybody is right now. So like the first question you get asked, are you on TikTok?
I'm going to be completely honest. The only reason I'm not on TikTok is because I went to it, I signed up for it, and the first 10 videos I saw what the people were doing, and I said, I can't even watch this to even record something and upload it. Like,
It's pretty crazy what you can find on TikTok right now.
It's scary. Yeah.
So where can our viewers find your music?
You can find my stuff anywhere. You can go to now that YouTube has YouTube Music, you can find the album music there. You can find live shows there, but then of course all the other digital platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. Um, you can buy the physical copies, I believe, on in somewhere on Amazon, and then we'll have it pretty soon on my website. As far as the we're getting ready to do something where people can basically get my whole collection, which is like 5 albums, and they'll get it on a thumb drive.
I'm in there.
And
I'm in.
yeah,
I'm on that one.
oh,
I'd definitely be in getting that
Yeah, I
whole
know.
collection.
Um,
So we know you with your with your podcast and everything that you do now, you do a lot with politics, talking about politics and stuff like
yeah.
that. So what what do you think about our resident Joe? I ain't gonna call him president. I'll call him resident.
Resident's pretty accurate. You know what? I said this about every president. I said this about Donald Trump because he wasn't the person that I had voted for whenever they were having the primaries. I said this about Barack Obama, and I think that's probably about the time I was really into politics. I know history about former, but that's kind of when I got involved and started paying attention. It's just that I hope my impression of them proves me wrong because they're my president, you know. So if they suck, it hurts me just as
Right.
bad as it hurts the person that voted for 'em.
absolutely.
So I'm always hoping that they prove me wrong if I don't like their policy, if I don't like what they've said. And, you know, with the current one, I don't even really know how to explain it other than
Yikes.
if you could imagine, and this, I try, especially unless it's my own thing and I'm just talking politics, I try to talk about it in a way where people understand where I'm coming from, even if they disagree. But if you could imagine the current president in his current state speaking the way that he does, and then imagine another profession where the head of that profession acted in the same way, you would be terrified.
Yeah.
If your doctor talked to you that way, you'd be like, "You're not touching me."
Right.
Like I don't.
The way I explained it to people is, say we had another incident like a 9/11, God forbid that ever happened
Yeah.
again. I think with President Trump, he would have came out and he would have, said, we're going to be doing this and this and this and this. I'm here for you. America's here for you. And he'll be there to help him grieve, and stuff like that. But you have Resident Joe come out, and he'll be like, forget what he was saying. He'd be doing double words, He'll be like, forget that he was on stage and walk off, which he has done. So I'm only stating facts of stuff that he has done.
Right.
And I think that would scare America,
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
somebody that that isn't there to back you up.
Well, that's the problem with, to me, that's the problem with the current state of our country. It's not a Republican Democrat thing. It is an understanding of the roles that we play. So when you have a Joe Biden or Donald Trump, just if you have whoever is the president, you have the commander in chief. Like that's what I think when I hear president, commander in chief. He's the guy in charge of everything. So whoever that person is, I have to sit and think this is like the person who's protecting. I'm protecting my family. I protect my home. I take that role. This person is the person that not only protects my home, protects my city, protects my state, protects my country. And when you have somebody that is in that position, you need a fighter. You need
Yeah.
somebody that isn't scared. You need somebody that is going to put you first. And that's, I think that's what people made a connection with when they, whether it was true or not with Donald Trump, that's what they felt.
Right.
And I think with Joe Biden, it's a little harder for them to grasp that concept of this guy is going to protect me.
Right.
And then all the other stuff comes after that.
Well, it's just like we just had that incident in Boulder, Colorado, at the grocery store. And
Yeah.
so now that brings up the gun issue again. They're trying
That's
to
what
go
I
after
wanted
your
to touch on
guns.
too. Yeah.
The problem is they try to take away your guns, which is your God-given right because it's in the Constitution. Uh, you're just turning people into victims because other people are going to still be able to get guns.
Well,
Just
with what Court of Appeals came out with today, the Ninth Circuit Court. I'm not sure if you heard about it, with them saying that people are no longer able to carry in public or conceal. I mean, how do you feel about that? That's a straight attack on the Second Amendment.
I think it's not only an attack, it's actually the most underhanded way to change the Constitution. Like that, bear arms means nothing anymore if that holds up, because to bear arms is actually, by definition, refers to carrying it outside. It's not
Yeah.
talking about in your home or in your car. It's talking about on you whenever. Your right to have them on you to protect yourself at all times.
From foreign and domestic, of government tyranny.
Well, and that's something that is hard to touch on. Like, it shows you how detached we are compared to our forefathers, because that original Constitution was to protect us from a tyrannical government as well as from the thief that's going to come try to take your TV.
Correct.
But if you mention it now that it's for that reason, you're considered radical, or you're considered
Right.
a militia member if you think you could fight against the government. But that's what that was set up for.
Initially set up for, yes.
And
Yeah.
actually, that brings up, another concern where right now we live in a cancel culture type of thing. If you don't agree with one thing, then you're looked at as a bad person, even though you might be right. There's literally no more like two-side opinions. It's like literally either you believe one side or you're out. You're gonna be, you're gonna be discredited. You're gonna be looked at. You're gonna be like punished. Like people will look at you, be like, like especially. And I think a lot of that started with when this whole thing with COVID started. It's like if you don't follow the CDC's guidelines, which a lot of them, there's a lot of things like, okay, seriously, you want me to follow this? Yeah, you have to, just because it's written, even though it doesn't make sense, but you have to follow it. So you're telling me that staying 6 feet apart, it's okay, you have to do that. But when you're sitting in an airplane, 3 seats right next, touching each other, just because you have a simple mask on, that should protect you. So it's like if you start questioning that or question anything else that I guess I call it the more powerful group, are saying, or if you're saying the opposite thing, you're like the bad guy. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, it's affected me. I mean, I've been the product of cancel culture from the music side, but just on touching on what you said, the health thing is what's terrifying to me, that people were just so willing to let the government into their health life. That's
Yeah.
like something that's almost as sacred as your religion in this country. And people are just
Absolutely.
like, whatever, just tell me what to do. Tell me I can't, the craziest time to me was when they even suggested that you should wear a mask while having sex with your spouse.
Yeah, I know.
Now, I can understand why my wife would want me to wear a mask if I have bad breath or something, but outside of that, that's insane that you're even suggesting that to me.
Right.
It's like they want to see how far into your home they can come without you putting up a fight.
Yeah, and then one of the craziest things I've seen also with this is the China testing with the little butt swabs.
Wow.
Yeah, the anal.
But
Yeah,
the sad part is, and you just mentioned that they're doing all this to see how compliant people are to whatever is thrown at them. And the sad part is that, as you can see, there's a lot of people, they're just giving up. They're just believing whatever it's being shown to them, whatever it's being presented to them. And it's kind of scary in a way because, they're slowly taking away all these rights that we have. And people are thinking that we're still living in a perfect world.
It's Big Brother taking effect.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
right. And the craziest part about it is when you look at it on the political spectrum. And again, this is me trying to go at the angle of like a bipartisan view of the whole thing is that
Right.
you have people that have come here from other countries that left because of what we're trying to get ourselves into. Like they left countries that were communist or socialist because they could not be their own person. They couldn't do what they wanted to do. They couldn't experience life how they wanted to. It was always through the lens of the government. So those people are here telling other people, you don't want this. You don't want what you're voting for. You think that it's cool. You think that it's because of the, you're voting for this party, but you're voting for something that our family, some of them died to get away from. I have a friend that's from Cuba, and his father had mansions, multiple, 4 or 5. And they said when he took over, they literally walked away from it all. Like Castro took one of his mansions, and he said, you know what? It's worth risking my life to leave the millions I have here, my home, and everything to get me and people closest to me out of here. And they got on a raft and they went to, I guess, around Miami's where they landed, where my friend's father came from, and came here but became a legal citizen and has actually been an advocate. He actually helped people who have come here illegally become legal as opposed to just live here illegally, which says a lot for his integrity, and he really values what America stands for.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a step back from politics now, so because we could probably fill the rest of this time with politics.
Oh yeah.
Because that's one of the main subjects, nowadays is either politics or COVID. So, but earlier you mentioned while you was back in high school that you lost a lot of weight, and that you've been losing a lot of weight now, which I was telling Z here earlier that you have this special diet that you do. And,
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about your diet and how much weight you've lost since you've started?
Well, to start off with, I wouldn't recommend anybody doing it until you consult your doctor, especially if you're diabetic, because it has to do with blood sugar and stuff like that. But I've been hypo, I think it's hypo, and I'm not messing it up, hypoglycemic most of my life. So when I played football, I would pass out and have those same things that people who are diabetic get. And so the doctor had me eat peanut butter and graham crackers before football practice, and that would regulate my blood sugar and keep me from having an attack and passing out. And fast forward to a year ago, I started thinking about that particular diet because I could never diet. If I start dieting, my blood sugar drops, and I have the cold sweats and feel like I'm going to pass out. So every time I started a diet, I would stop. So I'm like, well, maybe there's something to this. So I started using this raw peanut butter, the kind you have to stir up, that's got the oil in it that it separates. And then I got raw unfiltered honey, and I mixed it together, and I would eat like a tablespoon before every meal. And I noticed I could barely eat the meal. So I'm like, well, that's cool. I'm going to try it, substitute breakfast for it. Before you know it, there was a period of time for 2 months where the only thing that I ingested into my body was coffee, water, and peanut butter and honey. I didn't eat anything else, but it's all natural, no Jif. It was just straight up crushed peanuts and honey. And from getting rid of that processed food, it was like daily I could see a difference, and I just started losing weight. So from November of 2019 to November of 2020, I lost 126 pounds from incorporating that into my diet. And like I said, I didn't do it the whole time, but during that 2 month period where that's all that I ate, I had the most energy I've ever had. I was stronger. I could sing longer. It's the opposite of what you would have expected. And now I kind of do it on a daily basis. I'll still eat it once or twice a day, and just try to cut back on my portion sizes. And then I stay up late. I'm a night owl, so as long as I don't eat my midnight snacks, I'm usually pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I've known since I'm an avid follower, I've seen the weight loss, so I know what you're doing is working.
Yeah, and it's not been no workouts. So I walk with my kids. That's been the extent of, and I was a personal trainer for 10 years. So I'm a big proponent. I love the gym, but I just haven't had the time, especially with 3 kids and COVID and school and trying to write music and that kind of thing. I haven't had time to do it, so I had to make time to do something. So we go walk and we get to talk during that time. Just more time with family.
Yeah. Well, we got about 3 minutes left on the show here. It says, we want to thank you again for accepting our invitation, coming out on Hot Topics with Ian Talk. It's definitely been an honor talking with you and giving the viewers a chance to get to know you and your music and where to find your music and everything. You want to plug your music one more time, or where the viewers can actually find your music?
Yeah, like I always tell people, most of my websites, if you're going to social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's just whatever the social media site is / Benton Blount, Blount. And then as far as my music goes, type that into the search on Spotify, Apple Music, or just Google search it, and it'll usually pull up the first couple places you can purchase the music and stream it and share it. And I appreciate everybody that listens to it and believes in what I'm doing, and looking forward to getting back out on the road that people are starting to open up again.
Yeah, definitely people get out there and check his music out and, and get it. You won't regret it.
Thank you, Ben. And again, like meeting you for the first time, it's been an honor, and it's been a pleasure as well. And like I said, we hope to have you on the show again. I know you got a busy schedule, but hopefully, we get to bring you on the show again.
Yeah, we'd love to have you a return visit.
Yeah, anytime. I've literally my schedule's changed because of family. So I have my kids during the day unless I'm on the road. And then at night, once we eat dinner and put them to bed, I come up to the studio, shut the door, and I'm up here till 3 or 4 in the morning. So if there's another night that works good for you guys, I'd love to. It's been fun. Usually when you do a podcast, it either feels like it takes forever or it goes really fast, which means it was fun. So
Yeah.
it went fast for me, so it was fun.
Well,
Cool.
we're glad, and like I said, it's been a great interview and great time meeting you, and you have yourself a great night, and like I said, hopefully we get to bring you on the show again.
Yeah, I totally enjoyed this because this was the first time I've actually got to be able to have a one-on-one with you. Well, besides texting back and forth. So.
Well, I have to thank you. I know the show's going off, but I have to thank you for doing the stuff that you've done. You don't realize how many of the venues I played at actually used the flyers that you made for the internet on their buildings for the shows that we've done.
On their buildings?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They would
There you
just
go.
rip off your poster and used it.
I
Cool,
tell this guy,
cool.
he's got magic, man.
Yeah,
This guy right here,
cool.
he's got magic.
I mean,
He really does. He's got a good eye. Like the band know your name because of the promotion that you do
Right.
for us, because you did more for us, when you were making those for all the shows than our advertising.
I started doing that from AGT on down because I even was doing the vote for Benton front posters,
Great.
So, but yeah, it's something that I enjoy doing, graphics and everything, and it keeps me sharp, keeps my imagination going, and if I can put something out there that can be used, that's great.
Yeah, man, you're really good at it. So I appreciate the help.
No problem, anytime.
All right, Ben, well, we appreciate you, and you have yourself a great night, okay?
Awesome. Y'all too. Thank you.
You take care.
All right.
Huh?
I would have just muted them so that would.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Benton Blount. Very, humble guy and an amazing singer. If you haven't heard of him and you haven't listened to his music, definitely check him out. Go on YouTube, find all his music. Definitely an amazing.
YouTube, iTunes.
And we're going to go ahead and play a music for you that he did a cover for. And I personally have this music on a replay every day, and that's the song Jolene. I think he did a great cover for that song. And but before we go ahead and do that, I just want to give a shout out to GY6 for definitely creating these great tumblers. I know we presented them last week on our show, but definitely for, like I'm still shocked every time I look at it. And again, guys, these are just not like any just regular tumbler or anything. No, these are something that's been created, personalized. Anything that you want, contact GY6, Design and Artistry. You can find them on Facebook and let them know your ideas. And definitely, you got my name over here, my initial, and you got our show. Tucker got his as well. And if you guys want some, definitely check them out. It's been an honor to have you guys all on the show today, and it's been a pleasure. I know we have a lot of new viewers on here, so I just want to say I'm really glad that you guys joined in today and listened to our interview. Again, if you guys want to check out Benton Blount, you guys can go on YouTube, check out his music. Also, you can look him up anywhere. Again, great guy, very humble, amazing voice. And he was, the top 10 finalist for America's Got Talent 2015. Yeah. So with that, don't forget, guys, our show continues to go on every Thursday at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time on Hot Topics with Z and Tuck.
Where the topics can only get hotter than hell, so can the guests.
Absolutely. So to find out,
just tune in.
Every Thursday, guys. Have a good day. Love and respect. You got Z.
You got Tuck.
We'll see you guys.
Peace.
Beauty is beyond